Hey guys, this is Kathy with MS Disrupted, and we are having a really fun night tonight with MS Disrupted and with Move It or Lose It. Tonight, we are working with our MSers and our caregivers or support group people. And so I've got my husband, and we've got several other people you may know or know. So here we are tonight, and we're going to have a fun conversation about what it's like with MS and our caregivers. So without any further ado, here they are. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for being here. It's so fun. So you may know Dan and Jennifer and Julie Stamm and her husband, Adam. And you may know Nabil. I'm not going to say it wrong. I'm going to mess it up. Nabila and Chris Dunbar and Tyler Campbell. And his wife was so tired she had to walk out. No, I'm just kidding. It's her fun night. And my husband, Lance Welbeck. So we are having a fun night tonight. Maybe some crying, maybe a lot of laughter, but just what it's like to have MS and you're the MSer and the other person is the caregiver or support person, or vice versa. You're both have MS, or what it's like for both seasons, whether it's different, whether you're the female or the male with MS. Lots of different pieces and puzzles to go with it. So we're going to talk about some of those things. So a couple icebreakers. How did you all meet? And did you know you had MS when you met? So Chris and Nabila. I'm going to get it. I swear to you, by the time I will get this name right.
Thank you. So we met in San Diego. We were both competing. It was my first competition and he was already a seasoned competitor. So he saw me from the lineup and, we spoke and we exchanged information, and a couple of days later we met, and I actually did not know that I didn't even know what MS was.
Wow.
So when he told me he had MS, I was like, what is that? And then he told me what it was, maybe within a month of us knowing each other, and I still didn't understand what it was. So then I went and I Googled it, and
worst thing.
I was pretty shocked. And I called my parents right away and told them, right, like the guy that I like has MS. So that was interesting because they really didn't know anything about it. So that was the first time I kind of sort of knew. And then a couple months after that, he had his first flare up with me, and he had an attack. I would call it epilepsy attack, but I'm pretty sure that's not the correct term. And I just calmed him down and I sat on his lap, and
she didn't run.
I didn't run.
Normally, we were so fresh, we were so fresh in our relationship, and she didn't run. And I said, wow.
Were you too afraid to run?
Yeah, I didn't scare her off because
that's awesome.
I had a seizure,
Yeah, a seizure.
I had a seizure right there in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the car.
Wow.
And she climbed over the seat and straddled on top of me and just rubbed me and calmed me down and stuff. Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could feel her. I could see her, but I didn't. I was out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You've had to see. So it's like I knew she was there, but I couldn't see it,
right.
And I could hear her a little bit, but
yeah.
How long were you together at that point?
Maybe 2 months.
Wow.
I proposed to her in like 6 months. I proposed.
Good thing. You're like, she's a good one. I'm gonna keep her right now. Putting a ring on that right now.
We'll talk more about it in a little bit, but I didn't even give him his medication until almost a year into us being together because he stopped taking his medication. Yeah. So that's like another story. So
Superman.
Yeah. So that's how we met. We met in San Diego.
I don't need it. I thought I didn't need it. Trying to be tough. Trying to be tough around her, and
so
it messed me up.
That's pretty typical with men and with MS.
Yeah.
They stop taking their medication when they start to feel like I'm okay. They stop taking it.
Yeah, it showed me.
That's man in general, man.
Right, Tyler? Is that a thing?
They're just stubborn.
Yeah, we like that,
real quick. It showed me real quick who was boss. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, I have like kudos for you for sticking with it. Cause when you don't really understand that, that's some scary stuff, really scary stuff. So wow, that's really awesome. You guys have been together for how long now?
Together
4 years.
4 years, married 3 years.
Married 3.
Nice,
We're gonna be
nice.
5 years.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go on up. So Julie and Adam, when you guys first met, tell us about it.
Sorry, I have to
Yeah.
keep stepping away. Our
We have
6-year-old
a
is
6-year-old and it's been
Oh,
a
it's
long
okay.
week for him.
Friday. We met at a bar,
It was my first single night after 9 years of marriage.
literally first single
My
night.
first single night, and him and his friends were at the bar, and my pickup line was, "So what's the single scene like?" Because I'm a child.
It's
and-
super smooth.
It was really smooth, but it
Yeah, it
worked.
sounds like it.
I mean, now we're together a decade, and it's been.
So Julie,
But,
you had the pickup line?
She tried to pick me up. Well,
Yeah.
succeeded in picking me up.
Yeah, it was
Nice, we-
very.
First
It was like
night
my-
out and right,
Right there, you have it.
Right
She
there.
wanted a
Well,
one-night stand.
10 years later.
She's
Well, I've never.
terrible at follow through.
I've never had a stand. So like the funny joke is when I tell people that I went to school with from kindergarten, I'm still friends with my kindergarten class. Like I was gonna go have a one night stand. They were like, no, you weren't. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Have you met you? So yeah.
A 10-year-long one night.
10-year long.
right, yeah, so you've had 3,651 night stands.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
he wishes, but no, maybe more
Right.
like- No. But
So then
yeah.
how did you go about telling him that you had MS? Was that like first date, like the first one night stand? Or when did you decide?
Yeah, well, so like my ex-husband is lovely, but I didn't think I could have children, so it was a large part of why
That
I
was a
left
great
him.
compliment, Julie. I don't know that I could say that. My ex-husband is lovely. That's really
I
nice.
do, I think he's
That's
great.
really
I wish him the
nice.
best. I think we both wanted to have children. And I thought I was the problem, and I think that's really a lot of guilt comes with that. I mean, I also fell out of love with him, so let's be honest.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But yeah, like there was a lot that went into it. But I didn't think I could have children, so I wanted to have that guilt off my plate. And there was a lot that went into it. But my first night, I was like, I'm just gonna tell them like I have MS and I have to use catheters, and like who
Yeah.
cares? And Adam, I was so nervous. So like when I say who cares, I cared. I was worried
Right.
about it. But I told him, and he was like, isn't it kind of like needing glasses to see? I was like, you see it that way, like that's amazing. And like from then on out, and it was just, it's been amazing for a decade plus now,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So
we're
Adam,
good.
like when I first met you, like once we all met together, like it just really struck me as amazing that you took this in such stride. Like I know we joked about like she's hot, like what did I care? But
Makes it easy.
I mean,
like
10
how-
years ago, I was cute.
you are still super hot. So how do you like take someone saying, I'm gonna take my catheter to the bathroom, and you're like, cool. Cause I don't know that would work for everybody, that
I don't
everybody would
think
be
it
like,
would. I think we like our stars aligned, and I didn't think I could get pregnant, and then 4 years later we got pregnant. So it's like,
I like to take credit for that.
there was a reason why him and I met.
I don't know. It didn't really affect me all that much. And, of course, the first night we meet, I'm not like, well, what's that going to mean as like life
Right.
partners and all that kind of, I was like, okay, do I have to do anything? Does that change anything on my end? And she's like, well, no, not really. I was like, okay, isn't that like needing glasses to see? Like you need a little help in one area. Like that's didn't really bother me, especially when I was like, and selfishly it was like, do I have to do anything? Does that change anything?
can we
She said,
still have sex?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he was worried about.
What? We
Let's
waited
be
until we were
real.
married.
We waited
Yeah.
till we were married.
Right, right.
6-year-old, and
And Adam, the psychologist of the group here would say that guys typically don't probably think that far in advance on things. You know.
Yeah,
yeah.
We're more primitive than that,
Yeah.
it's like, what am I
Yeah.
doing tomorrow?
Yeah, my lizard brain is definitely
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
so Tyler, what did, when you guys met, you obviously already had it.
Yeah, like I had the pleasure of knowing my wife now. We were friends in college. You know what I'm saying? So we two people come from different worlds. Like my wife is from the Bay. She from, she grew up rough in Oakland, in San Francisco. I'm from the suburbs in Austin. So I feel like that part of it was very rough, even getting over that hurdle than the MS hurdle. I told her when we were just friends in college that I had multiple sclerosis. I told 3 people, and she was one of them. She didn't know what it was. And when I explained it to her, that just made it even worse because I didn't really understand it either. So you talking about holes and lesions and then the potentials of PML from Medicaid. I mean, I didn't
Right.
do a great job. I was like, you about to die? Like, what's going, like, what we got here? You about to die. So I probably made it worse in her eyes as a friend. But when I had my last relapses, you know who your real friends are when you're going through stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And as a friend, she was the one person who actually showed up and was with me when I was in the hospital, when the relapses, put me in the wheelchair when I was 22. She actually showed up and sat in the hospital bed with me as a friend. Like I called teammates didn't show up. Some cats got phobias of hospitals. So it's like, yo, I love you, bro, but man, I just can't, you know what I'm saying? And she stayed with me in the hospital bed as friends, and it just took off from there. So when I got down on one knee, most people don't know it. When I was proposing to my wife, I was going through a relapse.
Ooh,
So
I
I
didn't
could
know
barely
that.
get down on one knee. I kept falling over. So it was like, I don't really think she's about to say no. She got to say no now, because it's like, my MS, you've seen it, but now you can't even. I'm ruining like that one moment you've been looking forward to since you was a little girl.
Yeah.
So I'm messing that up. But she accepted me for what I had. And there was a quiet comfort there at the same time, though, because she had at least seen it.
Right.
She had seen the drop foot. She had seen the wheelchair. She had seen the battle with nurses and the term of like, see me for my diagnosis. This is different. It's reacting a little bit more aggressive. So she's seen a lot of those things before we got married. I got married in 2011. We've been together ever since. I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's like 11 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, we got three kids in the game. We still trying for 4.
Are you really? Good for you.
Yeah, we're still trying. So yeah, through it all, the erectile dysfunction, everything. Like she's been through it all, and I know she'll tell you all a lot more about that side of stuff
Yeah.
from her perspective. But yeah, there's nothing to shy away from. It's all real. We
No.
talk about it a lot. How we go about trying to make our bedroom a sacred place.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. You live with it.
I love that. Thank you, Tyler, so much. All right, Dan and Jennifer, go for it.
We always are wondering which one of us goes first, and I always let her because
Dan and I met at an MS Society function. Both Dan and I have multiple sclerosis, and it was a program that I was involved in organizing to help women reclaim the things that they put on hold after their MS diagnosis. But unbeknownst to me, men were starting to register. So Dan registered because he has MS, but I'm thinking it's just the only men there are going to be husbands or boyfriends. And I saw him walk by and I thought, oh, he's really cute. And I wonder whose husband or boyfriend he is. And turns out he's got the MS. And so we met that day and it was instant, like just super easy to talk to. And
I often joke that I didn't have MS. I just used it as a way to pick up chicks. And so but no, I mean, it was just like, and when I met her, it's just like, for me, it was love at first sight. And it was just like, I met her on a Saturday. I went into work on Monday morning. I told the guy I work with, it's like, Stacy, I met the woman I'm going to marry, and you're going to be the best man at our wedding. And he was the best man at our wedding 3 years later. So we've been together. We've been relationship for 20 years, and it'll be, it was 17 years in September that we've been married. And I think it's just like,
That's
it's
awesome. Congratulations.
when you both get married, you both have MS. It's like, it's not in sickness and in health, it's in sickness and in sickness. And so we've been doing our best and living the dream ever since. So this,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
been
I love to read your blogs. I love to watch what you guys are doing, how you really work with each other. It's just a very beautiful thing, the way you guys do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we have this community surrounding us to keep us
Oh, right.
grounded. So
Yeah.
this,
If only we had this back in the day. In like
Right.
I did a podcast for MS News and Views, or Views and News. And it was funny because I'm like, man, in the 90s, we didn't have all this, you know, it was just like, you know, and again, for Chris and for Tyler, it's the same thing. I mean, I only thought that white women got it, and it was like older white women. And so anybody that came in that didn't look like me, I was like, why are they here? What do they have? How did they get it? And I always was so curious. I wanted to research why, how, and how do we stop this? So, but meeting this guy, I'll let you share.
Yeah, so we met in the gym. Initially, the first time that I met Kathy, she was a trainer at the gym that I was going to, and she taught this group-
Stalking me.
Yes, she taught a group fitness class. And as I continued to go to this group fitness class, we kind of got to know each other. And as you guys were describing your stories, I remember the first time as we're kind of getting to know each other, and Kathy, over the course of time, it'd be like all these people would kind of converge in this room, and we would get an exercise started that she would lead. And the times after the workout and before, we kind of had these couple of minute times where, you know, we would be able to talk, and we kind of built a little bit of a friendship.
I don't know where you're going, by the way.
No, it was, I just remember the first time in one of these little talk sessions before I very awkwardly asked Kathy out, and we'll get to that story a little bit farther, maybe into the discussion. But I just remember the time that she kind of dropped the information kind of just in passing, as she was texting somebody on her phone, which that hasn't changed, but she was kind of working, or actually she was putting together a playlist for the class.
Yeah, I wasn't texting.
She says, well, something about, she told me that her neurologist passed away.
Mm.
And that got me into asking a neurologist, and she told me that she had MS. And at the time, you know, it really didn't register with me. We kind of built a friendship and then a romance kind of a time when I'm past that we did that. But, you know, there was a time that I kind of like jokingly, you know, look at it kind of the way Adam described it. I was like, okay, that's great. Like it honestly, and I don't mean to make this sound crass or anything, but it really didn't have a value to me at the time, because Kathy was like, you know, a workout queen, and it's, you know, and I hear it a million times now, and I know it's really an insult to everybody in the MS community. It's, well, you look like you're doing so well, so you can't be
You look
sick,
so
right?
great.
Yeah. So
It's
that's the
not
part
really
about our story that, and I know Kathy's told the story many times on her podcast about how we met, but that's the kind of the kernel of thing that I pull out of as you guys tell your story, is that I did remember Kathy saying that, and at the time it really didn't faze me. But then again, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't understand, and as time went on, I've gotten a world-class PhD knowledge of it. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know, meant sometimes the knowledge I wanted, sometimes the knowledge I didn't want it, but guess what? I was going to get it anyway. And it's been definitely a journey in understanding what, you know, what everybody goes through that has MS. And that's kind of, so that's my part of the story of my reckoning of understanding, and the person that I eventually fell in love with, the time that she told me she had MS. And it was to me, it was very innocuous at the time. I was like, hey, she's hot. Like, okay, great. Like I hate to put too blunt of a point on it, but that's where I
You were
was with it.
chasing me all over the gym. That's exactly what you thought.
No, I was playing hard to get, actually.
That was
Trying
playing
to.
hard to get. Which
Trying to. I didn't want to make it look like I was that as interested as I
The
was.
creepy, yeah.
You said creepy?
No, I was saying,
Thank you.
I-
Awesome.
no, I said you
He knows
didn't
you're
want to
creepy
seem
now.
creepy. You
Yeah,
didn't want to
no,
seem
the
like the creep-
creepiness didn't set in until, yeah.
You didn't want to be
right.
the creepy guy, like, as I
Right.
said, I trained a lot of
Right.
men and men would be creepy. They'd be like, what are you doing after? I'm like, going home.
Right.
So,
Well, and I honestly, I didn't, that's the truth of that, is that I didn't want to be the guy that had a personal trainer, then all of a sudden he's hitting on his personal trainer. I'm like, this is like textbook weirdo guy. I mean, that's not, so and honestly, it took me a lot longer to get past that to actually ask her out. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask her out way before I did. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So
he
but-
got to it.
anyway.
So my next question is for caregivers. So for caregivers, what is the point during a week? Give me a regular week that you feel like you're going through with your MS person. Do you ever feel that, well, let me take that back. A regular week in your life, how much are you doing for the MS person in your life? And I know it varies.
Yeah, I don't feel like anything, of course we met when, she had already been diagnosed and everything. So I don't feel like every day is, we're drudging along trying to solve problems, all that. We've our life has been, organically adjusted to what it's like,
Mhm.
the driving, the, going out, all the things that, offer their own benefits or restrictions have sort of, fallen sort of nicely into place that I guess to sort of sideways answer it is, I don't feel like there's a daily adjustment to her having.
He doesn't, I don't think he feels them, but there are little things, like he knows I need the shopping cart. He
Right.
likes to push the shopping cart because he's more conscious of like what's going on around him. And he's like, I need it for balance. So like, there's little adjustments that we make that, I wouldn't say that it is something that he takes, but there's certain things he knows he has to be on my left side. He knows that left arm is always, like there's certain
Right.
adjustments that we make, but they're
But
just
it-
so ingrained in our
Right,
nature right now.
At this
Like,
point, they're just habit. And also with the cart, let me explain. She's terrible.
I'm so.
She will stand right in the middle of the lane and just do this. I'm like, Julie, people are trying to get by you. She's like, what? Why are you yelling at me?
This is a good time to
Cart
have a
etiquette.
conversation with
Cart
other people.
We'll talk
and
about
make
this later.
friends.
We'll talk.
Lance just says it's because I'm so Italian. I don't care. I'm like, I just
can't
need to
help it.
see.
And I
So
If that's
assume,
what you
like,
want to tell yourself.
If I had a
we bump into
quarter
each
for
other with
every-
a cart, we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna talk about why my cart has better food in it than
Want to talk?
yours.
Get strawberries and let's go.
And if I had a quarter for every time I had to move Kathy physically out of the middle of the aisle, like she was gonna get run over by somebody else, move her to the side. Because she was not honestly paying attention to the 15 people behind her that were actually trying to get by, and they were gonna.
Okay, we're done.
probably kill her.
Tyler, what
Nailed
would you
it on the
say?
head.
Tyler, what would your wife say?
She would say that her hardest part is actually knowing, like getting on me to sit down.
Mm,
I struggle heavily still with, like, I don't allow my wife to fix my food.
okay.
And so for her, it's like she got to get on me to sit down somewhere. And
Yeah.
that's the hardest part. And then we got kids, so it's like I feel bad because it's like, yo, I gotta do, because we have 3. Can't put that all on you. You have a
Right.
hard work job at the same time. And so not allowing her to do like the motherly things that she needs to do, not like feeling like I gotta be Superman.
Right.
Knowing good and well I can't be Superman.
Right.
That causes us to butt heads a
Yes.
lot more. And it's because I overcompensate for what I
Mhm.
lack. Because
Yeah.
I know at any given time that can all change and we start over. And so that's like, for me, learning how to put that aside,
Mhm.
learning how to sit down, learning how to let my wife be my wife. those are still things that we go back and forth with. She like, man, just like let me be. Like
Yeah.
I'm good. Like we grown in this household. Like we here, 10 toes down. Like let me be your wife. Let me be my own inner person. Let me take care of my children. Like let me do that stuff.
Right.
Because you overcompensate, man, it's stepping on my toes. When you
Right.
step on my toes, we got a problem.
Right.
That's,
And
that's
it
kinda
is,
what-
it's
that's kind of where
tricky.
we are. Mhm.
But yeah, Tyler, I mean, it's true. It's like, she's got to do that. And I feel you, because as the MSer, I'm like wanting to overcompensate for the stuff I didn't get done. And I see Lance working hard and I'm like, no, I can do this. I got this. And then it's like, for God's sake, please just lay down. And I'm like, no, I don't need to. I can do this, and this. And then it's like too much. And I've hit that point and I'm like, boom. And then he's like, now it's too late. So.
Well, we also suffer from being the two oldest.
Oh,
children,
yeah.
So it's like,
Two oldest children married.
just we're fighting each other, trying to do, no, it's mine. It's mine. I'm going to do it.
I'll
I'm
take
gonna
care
do
of
it.
you.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, it's nuts.
So I feel you. I'm looking forward to talking to your wife for sure.
Mhm.
All right. Chris and
Nabila.
Nabila. I had it. All right, Nabila, tell me what it's like to be married to that man.
Yes, I think that, for the most part, the one thing with him is that because he already lives with the pain, oftentimes he won't tell me he's in pain. So I just have to like watch him. So when I know
How can you tell?
Well, he starts getting lethargic.
Okay.
He starts, falling asleep or like dozing off, or I'm talking to him and he gets easily distracted.
Yeah.
Then I know like something's going on, so I'm like, it's time for your medication. So he tries to push getting his medication as much as possible, because he knows he's going to be out for at least 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Some weeks are better than others. Some weeks like he'll shiver and has horrible night sweats, and some other weeks it doesn't. So it's always like we're always playing a guessing game. We never know what we're going to get. But if it is for him, he'll try to work out or try to do whatever through the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And try to say that he's okay, but I know it. And then his eyes start getting glassy.
Yeah.
Almost like he's drunk, but I mean, he doesn't drink, but he has that like glassy look in his eyes. So I know that he's not attentive.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, like you need to like sit down. We need to give you a medication. And then, then I go into like, the role of like making sure his food is ready and all of that.
Right.
But
now, Nabila, when you do that, when you get to that point with him, Chris, is he like does he really listen? Does he know like, okay, I've got to listen to what you're saying. I've got to let you take over.
Yeah, he listens, he listens because he knows that like, I always tell him it's not even for me, but I always tell him like your kids need you. Like he has an 8-year-old, and I always say like, think about your kids, like they depend on you.
Yeah.
At the end, I always tell him like, I'm your wife and I adore you, but I'm an adult. But those kids, like, he has an 18-year-old and an 8-year-old, they need you. Like they actually need you in their life. Like if something happens to you, something will like, be broken in their ecosystem. So then he knows that. And he knows that I believe that he's capable and that he's strong. And I never doubt him, and I don't think he's weak. And so that is just like, like Tyler said, that's just like his own personal battles that he has to go, that he has to fight. Because I cannot convince him. I can tell him, I can remind him, of all and why I married him. But he has to, at the end of the day, believe that, and know that he doesn't have to overcompensate, because he does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. Thank you. Dan and Jennifer, what would you guys say? Because you both have to be each other's. So what would you say? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious what she has to say.
Since Julie and Adam brought up the bathroom thing first, I'm trudging. Sorry, spasm. You all understand. Dan and I met. I've been in a wheelchair since we met. And the first time we met, I needed help in the bathroom. And Dan was like, I'll help you. And it
That's
was
one
not,
way to get there real quick.
and it was not creepy at all or anything. And I'm like, no, really, that's okay. My mom is here, she can help me. But so Dan does a lot more for me. Just that's the reality. I have secondary progressive MS. We've both been living with MS for 25 years. So he helps me with a lot of just basic activities of daily living. So I'm used to, as Tyler's talking about being abrasive with his wife or not wanting to accept the help, I grumble every time Dan has to help me eat. If I can't lift the friggin' fork to my mouth, I can be a child. But likewise, when Dan is tired and I step in as the caregiver, there can be some salty moments where you're like,
Sure.
you know, but I think we figured it out. We have all these years under our belt.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of it's just because this was our reality since we were married. And I think, it's like, I don't ever feel like I'm doing anything different for her. And
Right.
it's, and it's almost like, I always tell her, it's like, I'm still trying to win her over. It's just like every time,
I
it's
love
just like
it.
every time I help her, and just think about that. Think of all you who
Yeah.
were married. It's just like when you were dating, any of you, if you needed help, the other one would step up and do it, no questions asked. And so it's just
Mhm.
like, this is just continuing to show the love. I mean, this is something that we always would have done. And
Right.
so it's like, that's nothing new. And so I'm still trying to impress her. And so
Oh,
I
I
think,
love that. You're
but a
gonna have
lot
a really nice night tonight.
You're making me look
of
bad.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Like you better have something real good now.
All right, Dan, we're gonna cancel you. Thank you for your contribution tonight.
You're
Right,
deleted.
thank
Goodbye.
have a good night. Happy weekend.
Man, I see you, Big Dan. Big Dan
Right.
coming in all guns
Right?
blazing.
I'm
baby.
like,
He coming in
dang.
hot. Coming
Next
in hot.
rotation, we're gonna go straight right around, back
Yeah.
to the top, go
All
right
right.
past Dan.
Here we go. Chris, you better have something real good. No, you're not. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the MSers. No, just kidding. So for all, I really want to know, do you want to go?
Go what?
Well, you can go.
Oh, well, we kind of have an interesting dynamic
We do.
when it comes to our MS life,
Oh.
really, because
I didn't know. But
me
go
as
ahead and share.
being the caregiver, I mean, because we are also it's kind of changed since then, but we also became business partners.
Yeah, that was quite an experience.
Husband and wife, business partners, and we kind of still are, as Kathy's transitioning into her new venture with the MS Disrupted from our old gym, which was Disrupt
This
Fitness
one,
Gym,
yeah.
where we kind of co-operated a fitness facility for 4 years, where we ran group fitness training from 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. We co-lived in the building that we ran our business.
Like New York style.
Yeah, kind of old school style where you kind of live above your business. And so, I mean, when it comes to our life as me being a caregiver, it's a very dynamic thing. And what has kind of continued to progress into that is that from that side of our life, because now her MS life is not just her disease and what we deal with figuring out what DMT is going to be the best that Kathy is going to be on. And then she's recently been diagnosed where she had seizures and the epilepsy diagnosis. So there's been a decent amount of things in the last 2 or 3 years that we've worked through, trying to find a new neurologist, going to Cleveland Clinic, and then trying to find another neurologist in Columbus. And that guy turned out to be not the greatest guy in the world. We can't do it. So we've had a very dynamic thing when it comes to the MS, me being a caregiver, the business, and then now what is kind of transformed, because now Kathy runs 2 different care groups, support groups, and runs online courses for people that have MS and autoimmune for group fitness training for that and running the podcast, which when we started the podcast, I was the engineer, I was editing, doing all of that to get the podcast out the door. So, you know, what I deal with as a caregiver is MS is now our life.
Mm.
I mean, it morning to night, it is our life.
Yeah.
I guess as just a pure caregiver play to say, what is our life as a caregiver for me as a caregiver? I'd have to honestly say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's just the caregiver side, because
Right.
we have such a dynamic MS life now.
Right.
There's just a lot on the plate with it.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.